Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called Ghislaine Maxwell's Secret New Negotiations. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure to click on that notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. Also, we ask that you post a link of today's episode on all your social media to help get the word out. Now, let's get started. Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of 5 out of 6 felony counts, including sex trafficking. That means that the government's position has grown even stronger now. So, if that's the case, and assuming Ghislaine doesn't want to spend decades of her life in jail, we ask ourselves, what would the discussions be like between the government and Ghislaine now, given the outcome of the trial? Assuming that these discussions and negotiations are secret, we decided to hypothesize and speculate what might they be saying to each other at this point. No one knows what's really being discussed in secret, but given what's happened in the past in other cases, we're going to speculate. So here are some of the topics of discussion that we speculate could be going on in the negotiations now between them. First of all, everyone already knows the contents of Ghislaine's black book of names because they're all over the internet. What we assume the government really wants to know is what was really going on at Jeffrey's house, at his parties, and who said what, and more importantly, who did what. Now, for the sake of argument, let's assume that what went on there was as bad as everybody speculates that it was. Then what? Could Ghislaine trade that information for freedom or a greatly reduced sentence of some sort? Perhaps. More importantly, does Ghislaine have videotape or film of what went on inside those parties with all those famous people? If so, those videos could potentially be the most valuable videos on earth. I suspect that the pay-per-view rights to those videos could run into the billions. Do you think that's high? If so, then let me ask you a question. If James Cameron's Avatar movie generated $2.9 billion at the box office, how much money do you think a series of pay-per-view movies would generate showing some of the richest and most powerful people in the world doing some of the creepiest things ever caught on film would generate? I suspect that would be one of the highest grossing films of all time, each and every one of them. Do you think that the richest people on earth would offer to buy those videos from her just to keep them from being seen? If you were a multi-billionaire who was being filmed doing really creepy things at Epstein's place, and you knew that having those videos seen publicly would cost you a divorce, in which you would lose half your money, and could potentially cause you to go to jail, how much would you and your billionaire friends be willing to offer for such videos? Would you offer half of your money to avoid divorce and going to jail? I suspect a lot of these people would. I suspect a lot of these billionaires would pay anything and everything to stay out of jail, especially when they know what other prisoners in jail like to do to people like them. Those would be very interesting discussions indeed. Now let's look at this from another angle. What if Ghislaine knows that the minute she is let out of jail, she would be killed by the people who she has video of hidden away somewhere? What do you think she would do to stay alive and protect herself if she got out? Some people allege that her family is connected to Israeli intelligence. That suggests that she might use those connections to protect her or to disappear with a new identity. But it's not that easy. She would need to have plastic surgery. She would need to alter or destroy her fingerprints. She would need to put a mechanism in place to release all of her creepy, secretly filmed videos if she was ever hurt or killed. Here's another problem that resides on another level. We have to assume that some of the rich and powerful people she may have compromising videos of, that they also have very dangerous and determined enemies. What if some of those enemies want the super rich people in those videos destroyed? What if they would do anything, pay anything, or anybody to get those videos so they could in turn blackmail them or destroy them in the future? To what level do you think those enemies would go to try and get those videos, or to get hands on Ghislaine herself so that they could extract the information directly from her. There are a lot of high-profile names in that black book. You can see them online. In addition to that, there are probably countless super wealthy people around the world who had some connections to Jeffrey that never actually flew on his plane or partied at his house. Maybe they were just super cautious or super paranoid, or maybe they were smart enough to know that Jeffrey and Ghislaine were up to something really creepy, so they were very careful and maintained their own distance to stay safe. What would those people be willing to do to protect themselves and their secrets from the public? Now let's speculate on how Ghislaine would disappear if she was to disappear. Generally speaking, most people who disappear tend to get found or caught sooner or later, assuming that law enforcement is pursuing them. But if law enforcement is no longer pursuing you, then how do you prevent some stranger from recognizing you, or recognizing your voice in public, or just thinking that you look suspiciously familiar and maybe they call the media and report you? Then what happens to you? Mobster Whitey Bulger evaded apprehension for years, but he was eventually arrested by the FBI in California. If the government releases Ghislaine from prison and she is free to go wherever she wants, how long will she have to look over her shoulder? How long before one of her enemies appears out of nowhere and does something terrible? Or maybe her enemies take one of her family members and kidnaps and forces them to tell them where Ghislaine is hiding. This is all just speculation on our part, but it seems that she really doesn't have many safe options. If she stays in prison, there's always a chance she may get suicided like Jeffrey did. If she gets out of prison, she might just get disappeared or publicly humiliated or destroyed. Her victims may file even more civil lawsuits against her. She could spend decades in court. She may lose all her money. If that's the case and she ends up completely broke, she may end up working a minimum wage job at some fast food restaurant or convenience store where she could charge $20 for taking selfies with customers on her lunch break. How funny would that be? Excuse me, would you like a selfie with Ghislaine to go with those fries and Coke? Would you pay $20 for a selfie with some famous creep like Ghislaine? I'm guessing a lot of people would. Welcome to the new Twilight Zone. Thank you for watching. I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. Also, we ask that you post a link to today's episode of your show on all your social media to help get the word out. Thank you, and we shall talk to you soon. Bye-bye.